Many of these people are seeking to, and we've seen it with Pearson, in my view, many of these people are seeking to create a persecution complex.
Let me just arch an eyebrow slightly to say that the champion of free speech in all of this is sort of threatening us with lawyers if we get any of this.
All three of you are despicable human beings. You are not journalists. You are not journalists. You are now part of the apparatus of state, because that is the only explanation for you siding with the police, siding with the establishment, siding with Keir Starmer, who thinks it's appropriate for two officers to turn up at the house of a newspaper columnist and launch a criminal investigation for a tweet. The fake news agents, Jon Sopel, Emily Maitlis, and Lewis Goodall, have just declared they don't believe in free speech. In an astonishing row with Star Daily Telegraph columnist Allison Pearson, who you'll know remains under investigation by the Essex police for a tweet. So let me take you through this story because it really is astonishing. So Hugh Edwards' defender, Jon Sopel, wrote on X, a platform that recently he claimed he was quitting, a word on Allison Pearson free speech row and what she describes as a Kafkaesque threat to it. Today on the newsagents, we asked her to appear. She said no. And if you get any aspect of the story wrong, my lawyers will be watching. You gotta love a free speech warrior. Allison responded, "Yes, Jon, I refuse to appear because your bias against anyone on the right is clear. Also, you defended your friend, the child pornography viewer Hugh Edwards, and attacked those who called him out. Yet as a journalist, you think the police visiting a fellow hack is okay." So a reminder, this is what Sopel had to say about the BBC sex abuse video sharer Hugh Edwards.
I think it would be a crying shame if this is the last we see of Hugh Edwards on television, when the allegations have turned out to be not that much. And I think all his friends will just be wishing him well at this stage, because Hugh commands huge respect in this industry.
So this guy is an establishment stooge, even when it comes to defending paedophiles. That's how much he will back the establishment and the mainstream media. But actually, it was during this Allison Pearson episode of The Newsagents where I think things got really dark. I want you to watch.
This will become a very ingrained narrative about A, the police force, even if it was the wrong police force that she called out, B, the way that Britain is perceived as being a place that, is a police state and that tries to curtail free speech. And I think this then becomes the narrative. It's a police state, or Boris Johnson's word, redolent of some of the worst actions of the Soviet Union.
1.7 million people in the Gulag probably have something to say about that, by the way.
Yeah, there is such a thing as Godwin's law, isn't it? You can't get very far in an argument without mentioning Hitler. And it seems to me that people are trying to make sure that this is one of those moments that you can't get very far into investigating any kind of story without saying, oh, we're now living in a police state. We're now living in a sort of fascist or communist or Soviet state where nobody's allowed to do anything. Next thing I know, they'll be telling me I can't put up my Christmas tree.
The next thing they'll be saying is there are asylum seekers in a hotel in let's burn the fucking place down, which is what someone did and got into trouble for. And you think, well, you know what? If you're inciting acts of murder...
Was that just a tweet? It was just a tweet.
It was just a little comment on Facebook or wherever it was. But sorry, that's the law of the land.
But that's what I think is so dishonest about so much of this debate, and why I describe the free speech absolutism as kind of a canard. Because basically, the truth is, all these people can scream free speech as much as they like. I think you're right, Emily. I think there's a political reason for that. And the political reason is that many of these people are seeking to, and we've seen it with Pearson, in my view, many of these people are seeking to create a persecution complex.
Let me just arch an eyebrow slightly to say that the champion of free speech in all of this is sort of threatening us with lawyers if we get any of this.
All three of you are despicable human beings. You are not journalists. You are not journalists. You are now part of the apparatus of state, because that is the only explanation for you siding with the police, siding with the establishment, siding with Keir Starmer, who thinks it's appropriate for two officers to turn up at the house of a newspaper columnist and launch a criminal investigation for a tweet, for a post on X. That is authoritarian. It's the definition of a police state. And what's so disgusting is that just because your mates in the media are all safe, because you all think the same thing, you all go with the mainstream narrative, you all spread the lies about COVID, so you're safe. And the thing is, I am someone that doesn't believe folk on the left should be locked up for what they have to say. I am a free speech absolutist. There's absolutely no hypocrisy coming from me. But as you pointed out, Mr. Sopel, under free speech, people are also allowed to sue. So Allison Pearson is completely within her rights to threaten to sue you. Charlotte Gill wrote on X about this exchange, there should be an inquiry as to how they were ever BBC senior journalists. Imagine the right-wing equivalent. And I completely agree with that. I think the emergence of these three from the BBC as hard left propagandists proves what I've been saying about the British Bashing Corporation for years. It is a crooked and corrupt organisation that should be defunded. And there's been so much response from good, honest people who know that we are now entering into a police state, like Kelly J. Keane, the women's rights activist, who posted, since 2018, I've been interviewed under caution 3 times for words I've spoken or written. I've been arrested once and had the police at my door for being untoward about paedophiles. Not sure about you kids, but I'd say that's a pretty terrifying state for our country to be in. I agree. What does my superstar panel think? Tess Wheldon, Rebecca Jane in the house. Rebecca, I find it astonishing that Emily Maitlis, Jon Sopel and Lewis Goodall are so partisan, are so hate-filled about anyone on the right, that even in these circumstances, they are not on the side of the journalists. They are not on the side of free speech. They are on the side of the authoritarians.
Sorry, was that at me, Dan?
Yes, sorry.
Yeah, I think, so I actually listened to this about an hour ago. I listened to the full thing. I don't have a lot of time for any of them, and I think that the comments about Hugh Edwards suggest, well, I think probably there should be police knocking at his door for that rather than what Allison had. I don't agree that Allison deserved a visit from the police in the slightest. However, I am a little bit different. Of course, I am a passionate believer in free speech. However, I do think that we do have to have some boundaries. And I say that as somebody that's been on the end of a lot of online trolls and a lot of abuse, and they are incredibly damaging. And I think when you become defamatory, there should be repercussions. However, this was not the line to be taken here. We went completely across it. And the only reason why the Met Police got involved is because it was about them and they were protecting themselves. And I think that what you've said about the hosts of the show is absolutely correct. If it was about something that they were unhappy with or they believed in, this would be a very different conversation. It suits their agenda and it suits their narrative. And they're not actually looking at this from an independent viewpoint, which is apparently what they're supposed to do as journalists. This was uncalled for. This was unnecessary. But we do need boundaries.
Tess Wheldon, what do you make of it all?
I think that this is another proof point that anyone who is a journalist or an independent broadcaster or frankly has anything to say that the Liberals could take issue with and the mainstream media could take issue with needs to join the Free Speech Union. Because that way they will have, I'm a member, and they have lawyers and expertise to protect you. But frankly, the other thing is that this is just becoming Orwellian at this point. You should be able to say, within reason, and I mean within reason as in not, we're going to go and kill people at this time, in this place, bring a machete, come with us. And that kind of thing, very obviously inciting violence, getting people to come along and commit murder. Short of that, you should be able to say what you want. Words don't hurt people. when have we got away from men going to war, and we now come to men knocking on people's doors saying, you said words and they hurt someone? I mean, another journalist, Julie Bindel, tweeted on Saturday that she had police come around to her house in 2019 over a tweet that she'd done. Some gender dysphoric woman in Holland, or they call them a transgender man, gender dysphoric woman, I'm sorry, had complained to the police in the UK about a tweet that she made on X that was apparently transphobic. She also wasn't told what tweet it was, and she also wasn't told what specific offence it fell under. Not only are we having people knock on our doors because we say things that hurt people's feelings and that aren't that don't agree with what the mainstream media want to put across as norms, which never used to be norms, but we're also allowed to have people from anywhere in the world come and say, sorry, this hurt me. It's ridiculous. It's completely ridiculous.
It is ridiculous. And look, the thing is, of course, if someone is breaking the law, then that can be dealt with. But there is a mission creep here, which is only ever targeted to one side of politics, because I have presented countless examples over the past week of pro-Hamas supporters literally calling for the death of Jews, literally, in front of police officers who ignore it. So do not tell me there are not double standards here. And we had the Essex Crime Commissioner, Roger Hurst, who is meant to keep the police honest, coming out, surprise, surprise, talking to LBC, talking to Lewis Goodall. So this is all the same people. They all speak the same language. They all speak to each other. And you should listen to what he had to say about Allison Pearson. Personally, I think Allison Pearson should sue this man because he is making it very, very clear that he has already made a judgment that she has committed a crime. Believe me, Allison Pearson did not commit a crime. Watch this.
We can't go around ignoring crimes just because it's politically sensitive. And we perhaps need to just think about how our Black and Asian communities are hearing this debate. After all, the 1986 Public Order Act defines this as a crime. And the maximum sentence, the normal measure of crime severity is on the maximum sentence. The maximum sentence is 7 years. That puts it up there well ahead of shoplifting and actually ahead of most car theft.
That is
as well.
Inciting racial hatred, to be specific.
Exactly that, yes. We will have no two-tier policing in Essex. Everyone's equal under the law. And if there is a complaint made, then the police are duty-bound to investigate it.
I mean, Rebecca Jane, he's made a judgment. I mean, the irony here is that you have the left, you have Keir Starmer saying, we can't even talk about Axel Rudakabana. We can't even talk about the fact that he was producing, that he's been charged of producing ricin as a bioweapon, that he's been charged with terrorism offences because he had an Al-Qaeda manual. But when it comes to Allison Pearson, she's a criminal, according to that bloke who is the Essex Crime Commissioner. It's a joke.
Yeah, I'm really infuriated, actually, especially with what he says, because we're picking and choosing. What he's saying is just not true. And in my opinion, what he has just said is complete gaslighting the public. Don't pretend like we deal with everybody equally. You're not doing. And actually, do you know what? I can go back to an incident. I forget how many years it was now, but it was just before COVID, I think. I was in Manchester. I was driving in my car, and some gentleman behind me had an issue with how I was driving my car. I must have been slamming on the brakes too much or whatever. They pulled up at the side of me, two gentlemen who wound down their window, and I didn't know what they were trying to say to me. And they said a racially offensive word, and then they threw a brick at my window, right? And the first thing that I actually did was, and I had footage of it as well, I drove straight to the police station. I gave them the footage. I told them what had happened and what happened there. They went round, they gave him a few words of warning, and that was the end of it. And now you want to send somebody round to somebody's house because of a tweet. This is nonsense. If you want to have certain boundaries and certain standards, they have to be enforced for all. You can't pick and choose which political views that you like, because that's exactly what he has done in this situation. And our criminal justice system is ruined as it is. We're releasing criminals, and now we're wasting precious time. We don't go out to burglaries because of this. Ridiculous. But he needs to resign.
Yeah, indeed. Indeed. It really is appalling. Also appalling is the fact that the British Bashing Corporation, just like the news agents, have absolutely no sympathy for the Allison Pearson situation. They come at this looking at her as a bad person. I want to show you this video of Richard Tice, the Reform UK deputy leader, on Newsnight. But listen out specifically to the highly sceptical reaction from the BBC host. But first, with the holidays creeping up faster than your aunt's fruitcake recipe, I've got something way better to share with you. If you want to look sharp for all those festive gatherings and maybe finally win that Best Groomed at the Family Dinner award, check out the latest masterpiece from Manscaped, the Chairman Pro Electric Foil Shaver. Trust me, it's a bit like Rudolph for your face, guiding you to a smooth, irritation-free shave. So let's dive into the goods. The Chairman Pro is armed with not one, but two interchangeable skin-safe blade heads. Think of them as your grooming superheroes. The skin-safe 4-blade foil for when you want that baby's bottom smooth, and the skin-safe stubble trimmer for when you want to keep some stubble but clean it up a bit. It keeps you looking sharp while minimizing razor burn and irritation, because nobody wants to show up to the holiday party looking like they lost a fight with a Christmas tree. But wait, there's more. The Chairman Pro has Flex Adjust technology, which is basically like the holiday miracle of shaving. It's like Santa's elves made it just for you. The blades and pivoting head adjust to every curve of your face and is gentle on the neck area, as if they had the gift of foresight. So go ahead, kiss that awkward jawline patch goodbye. No more pretending it doesn't exist while you hope nobody notices under the mistletoe. And if you want even more precision, on the right side of the bracket, there's a precision lock. When you lock it, the blade head sits firm so you can achieve a more precise shave. And here's something that's going to make your grooming routine even easier. The Chairman Pro is waterproof, so you can use it in the shower. And the waterproof feature doesn't just make shaving easier, it also simplifies the cleanup too. Just a quick rinse under the sink and you're all set. The Chairman Pro isn't just for daily shaves either. It's powerful enough to tackle up to 5-day growth, making it perfect whether you're shaving every day or just tidying up after a few days. And with up to 75 minutes of runtime on a single charge, you'll have plenty of juice to get from Santa's beard to smooth as a snow angel. See what I did there? It even has a travel lock to make sure it doesn't accidentally turn on in your bag, and an LED spotlight to help you see every detail, ensuring nothing gets missed. Get the Chairman Pro today and experience a shave that is as smooth as you deserve. It has everything you need to keep your face looking and feeling the best, all in one box. So head on over to manscaped.com and join the over 11 million worldwide who trust Manscaped. All you need to do for 20% off your entire order and free shipping is use the code OUTSPOKEN. So enter the word OUTSPOKEN at checkout. So that's www.manscaped.com using the coupon code OUTSPOKEN.
Allison Pearson is a well-known journalist, and as Andy was saying, the police knock on the door. They say, you're being investigated for a tweet. We're not going to tell you what tweet it is. They say it's a non-crime hate incident. They've now changed their mind on that. They wouldn't confirm who the accuser was, who they said, oh no, it's not an accuser, it's a victim. They wouldn't say what happens next, how long this investigation goes on. And so Allison Pearson is left, frankly, terrified and scared. And this is happening to at least
You're telling me Allison Pearson is scared?
I've spoken to her on the way here, and this is genuinely scary because this could appear as a criminal record. The police this week in Essex, in a sense, they've panicked. And they've said, no, it's not a non-crime hate incident. It's a criminal investigation. And in their state of panic, they've now launched a gold probe, which they normally reserve for incidents of, for example, murder, terrorism.
I mean, Tess Wheldon, Allison Pearson, terrified. Of course she's not terrified. How dare they? Allison Pearson is I believe, Britain's best newspaper columnist. She's a family woman. She's a good, honest woman. Not only does she not want to be thrust into the middle of a story like this, she doesn't want to be facing up to 7 years in prison. Of course she's terrified.
Yeah, of course. And actually, if you have a look, they've now managed to identify which tweet it was, or they think they have. She did a tweet. There were two people holding a flag of a Pakistani party with some police who were posing with them. And she put the tweet out and saying, how dare they, invited to pose with peaceful British friends of Israel on Saturday, police refused. Look at this lot smiling with the Jew haters. I mean, a little bit inflammatory, certainly not rising to the level of racial hatred. And then one of her followers pointed out that she'd mistaken the Pakistani flag for a Hamas flag. Very easily done, same colour scheme. And she then took the tweet down because she recognised that she was wrong. Are we not allowed to make mistakes in this country anymore?
Well, of course.
Are we not allowed to
and
say something without having done loads and loads and loads of research? And we're going to be thrown in prison for 7 years for it. It's absurd.
It is absurd. And also, it is worth pointing out, though, that Imran Khan's party is full of a whole load of provable anti-Semitism. So while it may not have been the exact point that Allison was trying to make, in fact, on a truth ground, she could very much argue that there are Jew haters within that political movement. So I think there are so many grey areas here, but the most shocking thing to me is that no journalist, no matter where you work, should want to live in a free country where the police turn up at the homes of your colleagues because of something they have posted on X. But we live in such a divided society now. And I just repeat, do not trust people like the newsagents. They are not on your side. They are not journalists. They are activists. And the fact that they do not have Allison Pearson's back in this situation proves that they are activists. Because if this happened to a left-wing journalist, believe me, I would be on their side. Just like I was on the side of Novara Media when they were booted off YouTube. But the left never put their principles ahead of their politics, and this is more proof of that. But look, stand by, Tess, Wheldon and Rebecca Jane, because we're back in just 1 minute. You don't want to go anywhere. I have a bombshell development, a genuine bombshell in the case of the lying, cheating Chancellor, Rachel Thieves. Thank you so much for watching Dan Wootton Outspoken. Please click on my face just to the bottom left to subscribe to this brand new independent news source and turn on the notification bell so you'll be alerted to our brand new live shows, uncancelled interviews and special royal episodes. Outspoken is also now available as a podcast, so you can listen to the show every weekday on the go, wherever you are.